You may have noticed that sometimes I take notes for these videos and sometimes I don't. Lately I find myself reaching for the notebook when I have a lot of things to complain about. That's called foreshadowing, kids. The LOVE Club by Lio Min. I'm going to do a very short recap of the basic premise of this, and that's all you're gonna get. We're not gonna talk about the plot. There's both way too much going on and then also nothing like actually going on. It's all internal. It's all emotional. We'll get there. This book follows four teenage girls whose initials are LOV and E, so they are the LOVE Club. They are best friends until one of them goes missing, and two of the girls move away right after that, and then our protagonist O is left alone, and she also doesn't really remember exactly what went down that broke up their friend group. They haven't talked in years. It's 3 years later. The two girls that moved away, L and V, are now back in their hometown. They've also kind of had a falling out of their own. It's all awkward, everything's weird, and then one night they end up back in their clubhouse where they used to all play video games together, and they discover that there's a video game there that supposedly their missing friend L, who's E-L-L-E, there's an L and an L. That's fun. Supposedly L has created this game for them, and then they get sucked into the video game. And then they have to work through that and figure out what happened in their relationship, what happened to their missing friend. They have to repair their friendship. And I know what you're thinking. That sounds really cool. That sounds like a cool science fiction, video game, adventure, fantasy novel. Oh, what's the problem? There's no cool science fiction, adventure, fantasy stuff, really. It's all sad girl internal monologuing. Okay, where do I start? This is the YouTube channel Mostly Sapphic Books, so let's rank the sapphicness of this. Not high. That was okay. I knew it wasn't super sapphic going in. Honestly, it was a little gayer than I thought it would be going in. I won't lie. I saw this cover and I was like, that's beautiful. Please let that be gay. And then I looked and it was tagged LGBT. And I'm like, good enough for me. I'll read it. And I read some more and I realized that it's tagged LGBT because one of these characters is trans. And there is a decently sized trans storyline with her. It's not like fun. This whole book's just like sad girls being sad and dealing with trauma. So it's not like a queer joy storyline, but it is a storyline about her dealing with transphobia and like how people perceive her differently. She actually got to transition when she was very young. 8 years old, she came out and her parents let her socially transition. They moved schools, and so at her new school, she's like kind of stealth. No one really knows she's trans, and she's able to move through the world as a girl in that way. And then later on, she moves again, and then she goes back to like her original school where she really grew up, and everyone knows she's trans, and she's treated differently. And she has a storyline with a trans guy that she knows there, who is kind of just a dickbag. So, you know, just some general transphobia. Nothing like crazy, obscene, heavy, hard to read stuff, but no like queer joy. If that's your thing, that's there. I do like the representation of a bisexual Asian American transgender girl who got to transition early in life. That's so niche, and there probably are like not very many books about that specific experience, and I know there is someone out there going, please, I just want to read one book about a bisexual Asian American trans girl teenager who's gotten to transition really young, and this is that book, man. This one's for you. So that's pretty cool, even if it's not like a happy story, but it's not like a sad story, so whatever. And all of these girls are Asian American. All of our characters, these four girls, and then their moms also become characters, which is it's too much. There's already too much going on, and then we have to deal with all their moms. Their moms, whose initials are C-A-R-E, conveniently. That feels less realistic, but you just go with it. All of this is a metaphor, but not like a good metaphor, because it just blatantly tells you all of the hidden meanings. This is just a book about grief and trauma, vaguely through the lens of video games, but not in the way you'd think. It just blatantly tells you all of the grief and trauma, and then talks about how that grief and trauma has impacted them. And you don't explore it through the video game lens, even though that was kind of the point. I don't know, man. But the representation's good, with them all being Asian American in sort of different ways. One of them is half white, and then one of them is darker skin than the others, and one of them has like curly hair, so looks different. So there's a little range there in the exploration of that. And they also grow up in an area with a lot of Asian American immigrants, and so they're just sort of like another Asian girl, and they all struggle with that. I'll say content warnings for any issue you can imagine a teenage girl possibly going through. Homophobia, though there's not that much homophobia, because it's not that gay. It's implied that two of the girls are gay, the trans girl and then V, L and V, and then maybe also like some implication with two of the moms. It's not very gay, which is unfortunate given how many topics it covers. We could have explored some homophobia. Again, I don't think this would have been a queer joy story. I mean, they kind of get a happy ending, but it's not touched on a lot, and it would have just been like homophobia, I think, if we had really touched on it here. I could have done with some more gayness. That's what I was talking about like 5 minutes ago when I started this conversation about how gay is it. Not that gay. Very sort of subtly gay. At first I thought I was just delusional and like wanted them to be gay, and like every once in a while they'd like touch hands, or like, you know, they'd look at each other. They seemed a little bit closer than the other girls, and I was like, is it gay or am I gay? But no, it's both. They're gay too, but we don't get a lot of lesbianism in this, and at least one of them is bisexual. I think the other one's a lesbian, but I only think that because she has a buzz cut by the end of the book, which sounds lesbian. But you can be bisexual with a buzz cut too. Live your life. But okay, content warnings. Some homophobia, actually, there is a little bit. Transphobia, sexism, racism, body dysmorphia, not in a trans sense. There's a lot of eating disorders. Sort of any pressure placed on a young girl. A teenage pregnancy, sort of like miscarriage, rough pregnancies, adoption, animal abuse weirdly gets brought up, parental abuse, abusive parents, domestic abuse, alcoholism, sort of sexual assault, did I say that? Creepy old men. None of it's like graphic, suicide. There's a pretty graphic, like, death scene in this, which is like the best scene of the book, because it's earned, and it's done well, but it's there, and it's kind of heavy. If you can think of it, it's in there, and all of these girls all have like multiple problems. It's not like this is the girl who faced the racism, this is the girl who faced the sexism, this is the girl who faced the transphobia, except it is because she's only one trans girl, so that one is just a one-off problem. But she has other problems too. People are also racist and sexist towards her. But whatever, lots of content warnings, lots of heavy topics. This book is just sad and traumatic. And like any moments of hope in this and like joy are like, well, at least my mom's not as abusive as everyone else's mom. Or like, yeah, people are dead, but we should just be grateful for the time we got with them. It's like, oh, it's not like a happy book. It's just real sad girl shit all the way through. And I don't love a sad girl book, to be honest. That's not me. It is some people. Some people like sad girl books. That's not what I thought this was going to be. I thought this was going to be about cool video games, gamer girls. No. The video game mechanics in this, underutilized, ungrounded, very hard to visualize. They just like go into the video game world, and it's sort of about their memories, and like memories that are individual to the girls, that the girl who made this L couldn't have known about them, or like memories that she thinks she learned but that like she wasn't there for, so like how could she have accurately depicted it? I don't think it's not a real video game that this child really created. and then managed to invent technology that somehow got her friend sucked into the game, because that doesn't exist, so it's like a metaphor. But they are literally in the game, and the sad girl tone, it just doesn't work with this concept of a story for me. Because, okay, imagine you got sucked into a video game. Holy shit, what the fuck is this? What is going on? Can I die? Does time pass normally? Like, what is my body doing? Am I, like, passed the fuck out in some clubhouse somewhere? In the middle school? It's like, I don't fucking know, it doesn't matter. Like, am I good? Like, if I'm in here too long, if I don't beat the game fast enough, do I just, like, die of starvation in some fucking room? What is my body doing? How the fuck did we get out of here? How the fuck did this happen to me? Call me crazy. I feel like you would go into fight or flight mode, survival mode. I feel like you would be snapped right into the fucking present, looking around, trying to figure out what the fuck is going on. How the fuck do I approach this? And then my friends are in there with me, and even though we're ex-friends and it's fucking weird and awkward, I would be like, no, we deal with that shit later. We're gonna figure out how to get the fuck out of this video game. Planning, proactivity, progress, something, action, 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 learning, awareness. And she's just fucking sad girl monologuing. Not alarmed in the slightest. No one is freaking the fuck out that they've been sucked into a video game. She'll just, like, go off on random fucking tangents. Like, the part of the game, like, the setting is their school. And they'll go in and they'll be like, wow, remember how we used to have a swimming class here? Remember how the teacher was kind of a pervert who eventually married one of his students? And it's like, that's not really relevant to anything that's happening. That's probably not what I would be thinking about right now. I would be thinking about how to get the fuck out of here. And also the video game logic, like, not very good. Like, the setting just shifts. Guys, this video is so unstructured, but that's kind of how the book feels. It's just, like, random memories. And, like, the way you progress in the game is not external at all. Ever. It's just, like, if she has the right memory, if she remembers something that she's forgotten, or, like, just thinks about things in the right way, the fucking world just, like, shifts around her, and it's hard to visualize, like, where they are, why things are changing when they are. Like the act of them changing over doesn't feel in the moment, and it's because we're getting fucking zapped back and forth through fucking the present day. Oh, this is the school. What is this? Who is this person that I've never met but that my friend knows? And then we're off on a fucking tangent memory. It's just about memories and remembering sad girl stuff and, like, drowning in our sad girl sadness. But it's not externalized in the game. Like, she's literally she must just be, like, standing there thinking. Just thinking. Like, for 70% of the book, she's just thinking. There's a couple fight scenes, but, like, they're not that great. They're not that interesting. Again, all of this is hard to visualize because the world is not grounded. It's not very video gamey because they don't progress through, like, doing anything except for a couple of the boss fights, and then there's, like, the fountain at their school. It's, like, their save point. So between levels, they come back and they heal at the fountain. That's, like, the most video gamey part. But everything else is just her, like, making assumptions about a boss's emotional intentions, and then, like, she'll just, like, run through, like, what is this boss trying to do? What is this? What's going on? And then she'll just jump to a conclusion for their motivations, and then it will magically be right, and then that will just, like, progress her to the next level. She's just thinking. That's not a video game mechanic. Even in, like, a dialogue or a story-based game, like, you are talking to lots of people, you are gathering information, and then you are making deductions, and maybe even, like, making choices, and then one choice leads to this path, one choice leads to this, or something like that, but it's all externalized, and you can't just think up information. You have to talk to someone and gain it, or you have to find a diary and read that and gain information that way. None of this is external. She's just in her fucking head. Why? Why? That's not how video games work. Pretty early on, I was like, okay, whatever. I'm not expecting video game-ness. I just kind of wanted to get through the levels. You know, we go through this friend's level and this friend's level. Just stuff with the moms. There's like some twists at the end. They're like vaguely interesting, but it's too much. Again, all of these girls have all of these problems, and then the moms have a lot of the same problems. And there's something there. It's not totally disconnected. It's connected. Something, something, generational trauma, something, something. The way their mothers abuse them or project beauty standards or feminine ideal standards onto them affects them. You know, like it's connected, but it's like too much. There's already so much going on. It feels so long. It's not that long of a book, but it feels real long because it's just sad girl monologuing so many times over and over with all these different memories. It feels long. It feels longer than it is, and that's not what I look for in a book, to be honest. And I think too much of the endings was about the moms who aren't hinted at being that important in like the beginning. I thought this would just be a story about the girls, the 4 girls. And even I thought that was boring. And then we had 4 more people, or more than 4 people technically. There's too many people, too many of the same problems, like thematically. I don't know that we needed that. It kind of felt like a different story. Like I wanted this to just be a very simple story of our main girl who's repressed the memories of what happened with her best friend's disappearance, and her blow up with her whole friend group. I kind of wanted it to be just a story of her regaining those memories, you know, accepting what had happened to her, getting over her grief, or like dealing with it in a healthy way, and then reconnecting with her friends because they were having trials and tribulations in the game, and then they worked together to solve the video game mechanics. And then they're best friends again, and then they talk and they open up and they realize that they do like each other still, and they can all get through this together and help each other, and none of that happened. Well, I mean, like, some of it happened, but not the way that you would think it would happen based on this description and this premise. I mean, they do kind of, they reconnect as friends. Like, you know that. That's not a spoiler. The main girl gains some of her memories back. We sort of know what happened to the missing girl. Things that you know are going to happen do happen, but like not in the way that you want them to in like a traditionally structured story. This is not very traditionally structured because we're just sad girl monologuing. It's literally just her thinking. Like the action, the plot is not driving the action. There's not a lot of action. It's just she's just thinking. She's just thinking. And even though I didn't like her and her thinking, the story should have been just focused on her and the friends and not the moms. I don't really care about the moms. And then at the very, very end, there's like even more characters that are going through some of the same stuff. Again, it's more kids playing video games. It's not really a spoiler because it doesn't fucking matter. And like I'm not telling you details. It doesn't matter. There's more kids playing more video games, and they're like, yeah, my teacher's a creepy pervert too. And I'm like, okay, but we've already like dealt with this topic. Like, what is why? It's just keep going. The world's just shit for everybody all the time. That sucks. I mean, yeah, that is how it works. But like, I already know that. You've already showed me 2 generations of that. I don't know that we need. Okay, I don't know that. I don't know. I don't know. This book just drained me. There was just too much going on. And it was all boring. That's the cardinal sin. I just can't read a novel where the character's thinking. I think I described this as if Nina LaCour had a good idea. Which sounds really mean. I don't even hate Nina LaCour. I hate on Nina LaCour all the time. I don't even dislike her. She has a few good books. I think she's good at writing children's books. I've read all of her children's books and they're actually pretty good. But Nina LaCour is very renowned for writing these kind of sad girl stories where the teenage girls are just sad and they just spend the whole book thinking about how sad they are and nothing happens. But those books have more boring premises than this. And I can't tell if that's a compliment to this as being like, yeah, that's a good premise. And it is a good premise. I was pretty excited to read this. Not executed the way I expected or wanted. But also that makes it more disappointing in a way because like it could have been really exciting and cool. And like We Are Okay by Nina LaCour, where it's just a sad girl sitting alone in her dorm room over Christmas break where there's no one around and she's not doing anything, That was never going to be exciting. And so there was no hope. There were no hopes and dreams for that book. It was just sad girl sadness. There were hopes and dreams for this book. Unfortunate. What else can I talk about? The writing itself, I saw some reviews of this that said the language was too flowery for them. I wouldn't describe this as overly flowery. A little bit in some parts. However, I would describe it as overly flowery in the literal sense of that word. There are so many flower metaphors. You have not read flower imagery until you have read this book. Imagine all of the double-meaninged flower imagery you've ever read in every book over your entire life. Combine it, and then times it by 100. Oh my god, these bitches love flowers. And I didn't give a fuck. I don't give a fuck about flowers. I don't care about flower imagery. I think it's one of the most overdone things in literature. People love to fucking write about nature. They love a metaphor about nature. I don't give a fuck. That wasn't why this was not successful to me. It wasn't that it was bad flower imagery. And the book does prepare you for it by having a couple hundred flowers on the cover. It needed more flowers. This isn't an accurate representation of how many flowers there are. There should have been more flowers on the cover to prepare you for this. So much, just so much. And like, it's probably well done. I don't care. I don't care about flowers. You're not gonna make me care about flowers. From what I got, pretty good. It was probably even deeper than what I got, because I don't know what the fuck all those flowers mean. I don't give a fuck. But holy shit, was it there? It was there. That was something. Okay. I don't know, man. Just not for me. A lot of this was just not my taste. Which is really unfortunate. Again, because, okay, let's give some compliments. Let's look at this beautiful cover. Holy shit, what a work of art. This is fucking gorgeous. Again, I was just scrolling through books, and I saw this cover, and I said, please let that be gay. I have to read it. I love the colors. I love the character designs. I love the font choice. I like the name of the book. I like the name of the author, Lio Min. That's pretty cool. Everything about this screams so fucking rad. What a piece of art. I wouldn't mind having a physical copy of this just to be like, look at this piece of art. Gorgeous. Whoever did the art design for this, perfect. Chef's kiss. Incredible. Also unfortunate, I was immediately drawn to the one in front here. The little butch in the hoodie. She's not butch. She's not a lesbian. I guess her sexuality isn't talked about at all, so maybe she is. Maybe I say she's a lesbian. No, she's not a lesbian. But I was like, if any of these people are going to be gay, I'm looking at that one. I'm looking. My eyes are drawn there. That is our main character. Oh, she is the boring sad girl. Fuck me. That was very disappointing. Just more video game stuff, like Vera and Elle. Vera has the sword and Elle has the bow. They look cool, like they're the fighters, they're the lesbians. They do look really cool with their weapons. They get to use their weapons to like fight. That's their thing. And then O can like write in her notebook to make stuff happen. Sometimes she doesn't write the right thing and doesn't go through, and that kind of reminded me of those text-based games, that like really, really old ones, where you give a command and sometimes it works and sometimes it's like, I don't know what the fuck you're talking about. But then other times, like, the rules didn't make sense. The fighting rules of this didn't make no sense. It's not video gamey enough, and it's not grounded in reality enough. So sometimes she would just write normal things, and then they would happen. And sometimes she'd write a passage of really flowery kind of prose that's really poetic and, like, you know, metaphorical. And then that would do something. And I'm like, why'd you write that one all fancy and pretty? And not the other stuff. Sometimes she just writes the word shield. And that gets the job done, so why are you writing paragraphs like that? What? What was going on here? I don't know. It should have been explored more. The whole, like, present day in the moment video game mechanic stuff should have been way more interesting and fleshed out than it was. Again, we get so much backstory and like so many memories and emotional states and problems and traumas. But we can't flesh out the video game mechanic. That's the whole gimmick of the book. Please? And the characters aren't concerned with like trying to figure it out really, even though they all play video games and should know things about video games and should be thinking in video game terms, and sometimes they do, and like that's how they find like the bosses. Which there's really not a lot of people to fight except the bosses. I don't know, man. I wanted more video games. But her journaling power was like the worst power. I guess the most impactful. She's kind of the main character of the game. I guess because she was the closest to the missing girl. Which makes sense. But like, she had the worst power, even though it could have been cool or something. It's because she likes to write, she likes to journal, and she likes to write weird flowery shit. And there's a thing about like her mom also having the same funky fucking writing style, and how one of the girls is comparing it, like Elle, who made the game, is comparing their writing styles, and it's like, this is like borderline incomprehensible, it's so fancy. And just because I didn't understand it, I eventually came to realize that, no, you guys are geniuses of your beautiful writing that is very hard to understand. And I'm like, I don't know if that's a good thing. Sometimes it can be. I'll give you a pass there. There was another line where our main character O is talking about how she read a book on writing, and it gives her the very, very beginner advice of show don't tell. And she's like, I don't like that advice. It's called storytelling, not story showing. Which made me a little sus. If that was the author's viewpoint on that piece of advice. Cause it made me think about it, and this book is a lot of just telling you things. Telling you memories, and not a lot of showing me how this video game world works. Things that make you go, Because I would have preferred this story if they had been going through video game challenges in the much more fleshed out video game world. And then our main character was like, why is Elle reacting to this thing in this way? And then, that kind of builds into us slowly learning over time, like, what these girls' issues are. And it's, like, showing us how they react to things. Instead of just giving us a fucking flashback. Another fucking flashback. Just the game should have been a metaphor, man. The game should have been the lens. Because that's the whole thing, is that you work through your problems through a video game. But, like, it's not that you're solving the game's problems, it's that you're solving your own problems. It should be a metaphor for grief and trauma. But instead, the book was just like, the video game is a metaphor for grief and trauma. Here is the grief and trauma it is a metaphor for. It's not a metaphor anymore if you just tell us all the stuff and the video game thing doesn't matter. This could have been exactly the same if O had just, like, found Elle's diary and was reading that. That would have made about as much sense and been as action-packed. If she was just reading a diary and learning something about one of the other girls and then thinking about it for a long time, and then, like, reading the next paragraph and then thinking about it for a long time, and then reading the next paragraph and thinking about it for a long time. So did I like this book? No, not really. I was disappointed. It does have some merit. I didn't give this 1 star. I gave it 2 stars. I think it has some interesting representation. I think it's saying, it has so many, like, references to such important topics, like sexism, like racism, like transphobia, like teen pregnancy, like parental abuse, like suicide, like eating disorders. And it's saying all those things, and, those are things, topics that kids care about and experience and go through and would find cathartic to read about in a book. I can imagine the sad girl teenagers who like sad girl books reading this and being like, wow, I feel seen by a lot of this. So yeah, I have experienced that. So I do think there are people who will read this and will like it and will resonate with it, and it can have an emotional impact on them. I think if you're reading this for the video game sci-fi stuff, don't do it. Don't do it. I did this so you don't have to do it. And I didn't think the writing itself was terrible. Sometimes a little flowery. You could argue the structure doesn't really work. You could argue the video game's not as fleshed out as it should be. Even if you really want to lean into like just the memory thing and not the video game stuff, the video game stuff should have been a little more grounded. But you can tell there's a lot of work put into these characters. You can tell the author cares about language and metaphors, and that I feel like there's probably some deeper stuff I'm missing thematically with like Asian cultures and Chinese cultures. There's some stuff about like their names and like what they mean, and their Chinese names versus their anglicized names. So I'm sure there's like some cultural references I'm missing there and I'm not getting the full appreciation out of. There is some cool story stuff going on with the parents mostly. Honestly, the parents had a way more interesting story than the kids. But the kids are our main characters, so they should have been the focus. And we probably shouldn't have had both of those storylines. I don't know, man. But it's not like the worst thing I've ever read in my life. And it doesn't have a million plot holes. It's not unreadable. It's just boring. It's boring and not for me, sadly. Beautiful book. Beautiful cover. Holy shit. Stunning cover. One of the prettiest covers I've ever seen on a book in my life. Whoever did the artwork, you did great. But sadly not for me. Maybe you. I would recommend this to sad teenagers. I'm not a sad teenager. I can't do it. And I did debate DNFing this, but I don't DNF books. I probably should, but I stuck this out. And it was on audiobook. If this had been a text, I probably would have DNF'd. I don't know that I could have read this with my eyeballs. But because it was an audiobook, I could put it on like 2.25 speed and, power through it. I could get through it quick enough that it didn't feel totally soul-sucking, just a little bit soul-sucking. And I don't like DNFing books because, just because the first 30% is boring, what if it's really good? And, that twist at the end, with the parent stuff, that's interesting. It didn't save it for me. But, it could have been interesting. And also, I needed to know if this was gay. Because I didn't actually know if there would be lesbians in it. And so I needed to find out concretely, and I did. It's like a 1.5 on the lesbian scale out of 10. But it's higher on the trans scale. There's more trans stuff. So it is queer. It's a pretty queer book, you could still say. Even though that's not the focus. It's not marketed as a sapphic thing. This was just me seeing a beautiful book and going, I need that to be gay to read it. But also if it had been super gay and literally everyone in this book was a lesbian, that would not have saved it. It was still sad girl boring. So not for me. It did get me in with the video game premise though. I do like a video game. I play a lot of Overwatch, which would be a different style of game. But what fucking style is this game? They're just there's bosses or boss fights, but they're just randomly going to different levels with different settings associated with different girls and their memories, and then they just stand around and think about things. That's not how video games work. So this wasn't a video game. I don't know what it was. It was weird and disappointing. But that's it. I'm gonna stop talking. I'm sad I didn't like this. I really, really wanted to. But oh well. Not for me. They can't all be for me, even though I think every single book should be written exactly to my taste. Thank you very much.